platform for a long time when I was studying in Japan, when I was studying in Turkey. So it's a great pleasure that we have something in Astana. So I hope that you will enjoy the time here and it will be constructively important for you in your future career. So my topic is soccer ball. It was rightly mentioned, there was a question mark, why it should be a soccer ball if I'm going to talk about soccer, I'm going to talk about diplomacy and politics. It was 1998 when I was at the age of 10, and I think you are counting how old I am now. It was a World Cup in France, and I was rooting for France for Brazil that time, and Brazil was eliminating everybody. Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Cafu, all that great players was playing the same team, and France was the host of the World Cup, and it was a final. And my dream and my heart was broken when the France scored 3 goals, and I was like shocked. But that was the beginning of my addiction and love to the soccer, or football as we call it now in Kazakhstan. I'm from Semey, and I was living in the suburban area, and we were living in the private housing, far away from the center and in the periphery. And I was living there for 7 and 8 years, and every day we were playing soccer with my fellow street mates. And it was like crazy games, raining, mud, tackling crazy. I was imagining myself as being Ronaldo of Kazakhstan. So it was my dream to be a professional football player in the future. But my mother told me, no, you're not going to be that. Since you're going to hurt yourself. In Kazakhstan football sucks. So nothing works actually here. You should select a proper career, being a doctor or some economist, financial accountant, something like that. But I understood that. But my dream, my passion for football was there. For 6 years we were playing. For 6 years I was playing with my street mates. It was really that nice. And due to my father's job, we moved to the center of the city. So it was like nice apartments, so the like 10-story building, etc. So I just went with my dirty shirts outside into the center of the city and was like waiting for guys to take me into their team and play with them. And nothing happened. I became very shy, and I couldn't approach those kids who are playing soccer on the same street. I didn't know what happened with me, because there was some kind of barrier, psychological barrier. I didn't understand why. And I was sitting on the bench for 2 weeks, watching at those kids who are playing soccer with each other. And my mother was on the second floor. She was looking at me through the window and shouting, "Hey, Iskander, what the hell are you doing? Why not you approaching those kids and play properly? The same people as you are." And I thought, "Mother, and I was shouting at the second floor from the bench, how can I play with those kids? They don't know me, I don't know them. What if I come, they say, no, you cannot play with us, I will be embarrassed." So what I need to do in this situation? My mother couldn't withstand this situation for 2 weeks, and she decided to do one thing. She went out on after the second week, went to the bazaar, the green bazaar, and she bought me the cheapest ball which was there available on the bazaar. So I was a little bit confused. Well, what's happening? Why did you bring me this soccer ball? I mean, how am I going to play alone? I'm not going to play with them, definitely. So interesting enough, I went from my apartment to the street. I was sat on the same bench. I waited for 30 seconds. And one guy from the street who was playing soccer, he said, "Hey, Iskander, what's your name?" I said, "Iskander, let's play together." I said, "What? Really?" So it was like turning point for me when I was able to contact and get acquainted with those friends. So for 10 years, they became my soulmates on the streets. So after I finished my high school, I studied in Turkey and went to Japan for pursuing my bachelor degree and master's degree in politics and international relations diplomacy. I started realizing what actually turned myself and made myself select this profession or affiliation as diplomacy and foreign policy, for example. And I started looking at the classes, the courses, the teachers, professors who motivated me to do that, carrying that sphere. And interestingly enough, I couldn't find anything that made me motivated very much. So I was looking down to my childhood experience. And it came to that point where I was sitting on that bench with my soccer ball. And that guy came to me and asked me, "Would you like to play?" So as a professional, when we are growing up, everyone here, we are facing up we are facing up with some difficulties being in demand. Being in demand as a professional, as a person, as a husband, as a wife, as a citizen of the country, what I am able to provide to that place where I belong to. So for me, that soccer ball became some sort of demand for my area of study as a diplomat. So we are all of us are traveling throughout the country, throughout Kazakhstan. You go to Almaty, you go to different places. You go abroad, you visit America, you visit Great Britain, you study abroad. You meet different people from different backgrounds and societies, from different religious backgrounds, ideological spectrum, and you always need to find something that brings you together, a common ground. For me, during that point, when I was a child, for me it was soccer ball. So I tried to transfer the same mentality of carrying the soccer ball, something that united me when I was a child with those kids. So when I traveled to Turkey, so you need to know how to speak Turkish. And when you know how to speak Turkish, you need to understand the culture, the mentality, everyday life. So I tried to find the common ground with them, the same mentality of how I find the common ground with those kids when I played with some soccer. So when I moved to Japan, it was really difficult because I didn't know the language. Society is too different. Even though we share this kind of Asian collective family side, all that stuff, it's really quite different society with its own manners, with its own cultural codes, etc. So by learning Japanese, I started gradually approaching to the society. I started to digging the unseen levels of their culture, everyday life. So I started understand what they're talking about, what they need. Then I tried to make friends, Japanese friends. Then professional friends in the business, in the universities. And what I tried to do is to carry a soccer ball with me. There's something that brought me together with them. So when I came to Kazakhstan, I was like, it was shock for 2 hours. If you travel and if you stay for a long time in the US, you came back to Kazakhstan, oh, this cultural shock is like, it's disastrous, what's happening in Kazakhstan. No, for me it was like 2 hours. I came to my brother's house, I slept for 2 hours, I said, oh, what's happening? I need to move and go somewhere else. So I took on the bus. I spent 2 hours, 3 hours moving around Astana. I went to Artyom, I went to Shapahat, I went to all the bazaars. I started checking how much butter, bread, eggs, what is the cost, what's the price. I started speaking with ordinary, Astana locals, so-called. And so I tried to move deep into the society and find a common ground. So I have been living here in Astana for 4 years. And as a professional, I choose my path being a diplomat. Aspiring diplomat. I'm just a foreign policy researcher and analyst. But in my job, I need always to find common ground with professionals from different areas, be it embassy, traveling abroad for a conference, traveling to this field study. I can give you one example. It was 2015 and my boss suddenly said, hey, would you like to go to Afghanistan? I said, yes, but I need to check with my mother. My mother definitely said no. My father said, okay, you can go. But the final decision was for me. So we were flying by the military plane. It was like crazy stuff. I wouldn't tell you kind of the conditions. But we moved there to Afghanistan, to Kabul. It was August 2015. And suddenly you are in different kind of society. Even though we share kind of cultural heritage, South Asia, Central Asia, similar kind of attitude, mentality, but at the same time, that's totally different country. So when you move there, you suddenly, as a professional, you need to kind of interview people and you need to ask the right questions in order to get the right answers. So what I try to do is just check out all the news and try to find not only professional stuff. I try to find the Afghan jokes, everyday life. So if you are approaching to the person and if you are asking something within this process, some jokes and interesting stuff, you bring this ice between you. And that helped me just to kind of ask the right questions and get the right results, and we became friends. So I traveled there 3 times already, and it was like every time it's high pressure on me because sometimes you see that something's blowing up there and people are dying, unfortunately. But it helps you understand how to operate in different societies with different people from different backgrounds. So, but at the same time, this helps you understand yourself much better. What you're capable of, what's your negative and positive sides on what you would like to do and work. So my main message in this soccer ball approach is that we are, as professionals, are trying to find ourselves in the future. And we're trying to find ourselves as a people, as a person. So you're learning English and you're studying and improving the English here. And I think that it's important that important to connect with each other. And when you're approaching a person from different background, first you need to find a common ground and bridge the trust between you and the society you're in. So that is kind of the main part of my soccer ball approach. So if you have any questions, I can share my tactics and strategies how you approach.
So let's applaud first of all. Guys, I'm sure you have questions. So, any volunteers who would like to be the first? About soccer, about diplomacy. Yeah. SCI, I guess.
Should I start up?
Yes. I don't know. Up to you.
How much time did it take to get used in different country? For example, for the first time when you go abroad, it's usually longer, and then for the next times in different countries. So.
Well, for me, the first time I had an experience traveling abroad was at the age of 6. When I traveled to Moscow, and then I stayed in host family in Brussels for like 1 month. When I'm like talking to my mother now, so how were you able to kind of allow me 6 years ago in 1997 or something like that to travel abroad without knowing anything? I mean, no proper Russian, Kazakh, English, no French. So I was, for me, I think it was turning point at some point just to get used to that, this kind of a different culture. But now, if you're asking now, it certainly takes your time. When you travel, it will maybe take you 1 month at some point to psychologically adapt to the society environment you're in. It depends on the context. Are you traveling for a short-term or long-term period? If it's long-term period, I think you need to kind of make a plan, or you just weekly plan at some point, how we are going to approach this different society. If you are going for education, for example, I think firstly you need to make a good preparation. Who are the main guys you need to meet? If you are from Kazakhstan, for example, you just need to find out who are the key people and kind of the coordinators for Kazakh society around the world. And then if you are studying medicine, medical engineer, or you're an engineer, or you're studying biology, you need to find the key centers and the people who are working in that field. Since you need to build yourself in a multi-dimensional area. So not just you are as a person, but also as a professional, as a friend, or as a citizen of Kazakhstan. So you need to make a contribution from different angles. I think my friend Owen, who is coming from Boston, who is one of the kind of leaders in that. He can share as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. I guess Daniel was the second one, Roman, then you.
Can you tell the audience, as a foreign policy professional, some interesting example of how Kazakhstan's involvement in the foreign policy, was they neighbors or others?
Oh, okay.
Some insightful, interesting that might be interesting to us?
Well, as you know, the Kazakhstan, we are squeezed between this kind of great heavyweights, regional heavyweights like China, Russia. At the same time, we have Muslim neighbors and Central Asian neighbors which are close to us. We have Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan. We have a far distant neighbor as Afghanistan. So it's like also quite a curious world. And interesting enough that we may know much more about New York, for example. We would like to travel to US, Great Britain. We would like to travel to Russia, for example. But we don't know much about our immediate neighbors like Kyrgyzstan. So we say, oh, Kyrgyzstan, we know about them. But when you travel there, you actually don't know anything. So for us, for Kazakhstan, I think one of the key agenda now is just to make Central Asia regional approach much more important. We have a strategic partners such as Russia and China and USA, for example. But we are living in that Central Asian neighborhood. So we need firstly to understand our neighbors. If we are able to grow up together at the region, it will affect us positively much more. If we have imbalanced approach there, one country is doing very good, one country is doing very bad, so it will affect us as well. So what we need to do is to create a collective good, collective prosperity. So by collective approach, we're able to grow much faster, much fast and be much more prosperous in this regard. But what our main agenda certainly is pursuing so-called multilateral foreign policy. So we're good with our strategic partners. We're good with US. We're good with Russians. We're good with Chinese. We're good with European Union. So the fact that we have American corner and not something banned here is because of the success of Kazakhstan in foreign policy. That's true. That's one of the key success stories of Kazakhstan. It's not easy. Being selected to United Nations Security Council is great victory for Kazakhstan's foreign policy, but at the same time, it's a big challenge because before we had opportunity and time frame to think about how we need to approach and respond to different challenges. The crisis between Turkey and Russia, we said, oh, we need to solve that, but we took a time. Crisis between Ukraine and Russia, we tried to approach, but we had a time. But in the United Nations Security Council, you have 3 options: yes, no, and abstain. So automatically, you don't have much time. You need to be really fast, and your opinion Kazakhstan's opinion may go in alliance with our key strategic partners, and we can be against. Yeah. So there are different cases on Syria, different Ukraine, where we took a different stance on that. So that created some irritation from different partners, as you may see, as you saw from the news, and some commentators from Russia, for example, different countries were making some kind of sort of comments. But it's okay. We need to learn how to live in this kind of environment where we may not please everybody, but we would like to pursue the constructive relationship with all our partners. So that's one of the cases.
Okay, full answer. Wow. The last question,
Yes.
because we are
Yes.
a bit short of time.
Iskander, thank you very much for such inspiring speech, and it's indeed a very learning experience for us to hear from you, from your perspective. And right now I'd like to ask the question, your experience. I don't want to put you on the boiling plate, but however,
I would like to. Really?
like you said, each coin has the different sides. So you traveled a lot, and during your travel, can you give us at least one example when you had this very huge cultural shock and how you approach it, like in Japan, Afghanistan, any kind of?
For me, it was. I spent I went to that country for like 3 days, and it was Ethiopia, it was Africa, and it was 2016. That was crazy for me, actually. Since the first time you need to, if you would like to go to Africa, specific countries, you need to take a injection. Certainly. So it was, for me, it was firstly, if you would like to go to Ethiopia, you need to take an injection from specific disease. So I went to the hospital, the presidential hospital, and they gave me injections. So I waited. I couldn't wash my body, etc. Take a shower for 3 days, and then you're flying for 15 hours there. And for me, it was like you are I certainly met with sort of people from African continent, so it was okay. But when you traveled there, it was totally different. So when I came to the Addis Ababa, the airport, I saw is it China? What's happening here? So a lot of Chinese workers there. So for me, it's like the first cultural shock. So is it like Ethiopia or is it China? So you see how Chinese are trying to. For me, as a political analyst, a foreign policy analyst, it was like on the cultural, the personal, and professional level, it was quite interesting to see that how our neighbors, like big neighbors, are trying to invest there, and certainly how people operate and how people work there, the attitude of the people, it was quite amazing. And the second point, it was Afghanistan, as I mentioned. It was not a cultural shock, but it was a personal shock at some point. When you see how a country which is suffering for how many years, like 16 years, non-stop violence every day. When you see, when people experience the explosions and people die, 100 people die in one explosion, and you see how at the same time the Afghans are making concerts, how schoolgirls are wearing the school uniform and going to the schools, how people are trading, how people are making concerts, etc. So you feel this kind of never give up spirit from them. You see, that was literally shocking for me at some point, because I imagine myself, if something, just hypothetically, happens in Kazakhstan, how are we going to respond? Are we ready for that? Are we strong enough to respond and fire back? What I hear from my Afghan friends, when they say, when I go back, Iskander, to the streets, I don't know whether I'm going to come back home or not. So that is a mentality they have, but they are ready to pursue their dreams. They're ready to find a job. They're ready to find husbands and wives and marry, create children, family. So for me, it was eye-opening experience, because sometimes we feel that we have the worst situation that is happening to us. But if you go there, if you talk with people, and if you catch that spirit, the fire in the eyes, when you look at the kids who are selling the headscarves, etc., you see that passion. That's amazing. So the final point, what I would like to make about soccer ball. Yes, the final point is of soccer ball. You know, I wouldn't be able to score goals and win the tournament, etc., by myself. Soccer and football is a team game, it's a collective approach. You need to have a goalkeeper, you need to have a midfielder, you need to have a striker, etc. So it's about the team that you are able to create results. Ourselves, how much individual is successful and prominent, prodigious we can be, and not able to do it alone. So if you are talking about Real Madrid and Barcelona, all the great teams, Manchester United, they are comprised of great team that are able to create results. But at the same time, football, being a collective game, it's also about individuals. Why there is a Messi, why there is a Ronaldo, why there is all these great players like Pelé, Maradona. As a soccer, it's a game. You need to be a team player. At the same time, you need to be individually really strong, you know, to come out from this big family. So
Thank you very much.